There's this hidden conversation happening inside your body, like right now. It's a fascinating story about how trillions of microbes in your gut might be sending out secret messages that control the fate of one of your most vital organs, your liver. And in this explainer, we're going to decode those messages.
I know, it sounds a little bit like science fiction, right? But this is the absolute cutting edge of medical research. And this is the central question we're going to explore. Are your gut microbes the hidden puppet masters of your liver health? So let's dive in and find out.
Okay, so to even start answering that question, we've got to talk about the crisis that makes this whole thing so urgent. We're talking about a massive and often silent global health problem that really sets the stage for our microbial mystery.
Yeah, we're talking about something called metabolic-associated fatty liver disease, or MAFLD for short. And look, this isn't some super rare condition we're talking about here. It's actually becoming a huge medical burden all over the globe, and it's tightly linked to our modern diets and lifestyles.
So what exactly is it? Well, the diagnosis is actually pretty straightforward. Basically, it all starts with fat building up in the liver. Okay, simple enough, but then you combine that with at least one of these three things: being overweight or obese, having type 2 diabetes, or some other kind of metabolic disorder, and boom, that's an MAFLD diagnosis. It's that combination that's so concerning.
Okay, but this is the million-dollar question, right? I mean, the liver and the gut, they aren't exactly next-door neighbors. So how can what happens way down in your intestines have such a profound impact on a totally different organ? Well, it turns out they are way more connected than you'd probably think.
And that connection? Well, you can think of it like a direct superhighway running between these two super important parts of your body. It's a physical link that makes all this secret communication possible.
So this connection is, wow, it's surprisingly direct. See, the gut and the liver, they're linked up by this massive blood vessel called the portal vein. This means a ton of the stuff absorbed from your gut doesn't just go into general circulation first. No, it gets a first-class, nonstop ticket straight to the liver. This superhighway is absolutely the key. All right, so if the portal vein is the highway, then what's driving on it? What's the traffic? Well, this is where we finally get to meet the main characters of our story. These tiny, microscopic packages sent out by your gut bacteria.
Okay, so the official name is extracellular vesicles, or just EVs for short. Now, the absolute best way to picture these things is to think of them like biological mail. They're little packages, or maybe even biological text messages, that one cell sends to another to pass along some info.
And you better believe these packages are not empty. No, they're jam-packed with a cargo of really potent biological molecules that come straight from the bacteria that made them. We're talking genetic material like RNA, proteins, toxins, and this is super important. Pieces of the bacterial cell wall itself, like something called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS.
And this, right here, is where it all clicks into place. These tiny EVs are small enough to slip across the intestinal wall, hop onto that portal vein superhighway, and travel directly to the liver, where they just start to build up. They basically have a direct, VIP pass to go influence your liver's function.
Okay, so we've got the motive and the means. We have these little microbial messengers traveling straight to the liver. So how exactly do they cause so much damage? How do they contribute to a disease like MAFLD?
Well, research has basically uncovered what you could call a villain's playbook here, with 5 key pathways of damage. Let's walk through how these little packages pull it off. So first up, these EVs, especially from certain bacteria like Pseudomonas panaches in a high-fat diet, can travel to the liver and your muscles and just completely block insulin signals. This drives insulin resistance, which is a core feature of MAFLD. Next, they actually weaken the fence of our intestinal barrier. Think of it like they're breaking down the gates. This allows more harmful stuff, like that LPS molecule, to leak through, which just adds more fuel to the fire of liver inflammation. And that brings us to the really big one, inflammation. The LPS carried by these EVs is a super powerful trigger for a receptor in the liver called TLR4. When that gets hit, it kicks off a major inflammatory response, and that is a key driver of MAFLD. On top of all that, these messages can also just disrupt how the liver processes fats. They totally mess with its metabolism, contributing to the very fat buildup that defines the disease in the first place. And finally, this constant vicious cycle of inflammation and damage, well, it leads to fibrosis. And that's the really dangerous part. It's the scarring of the liver tissue, and it's the final damaging step in this whole process.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of bad news, right? It kind of paints this picture of our gut bacteria as the bad guys. But what if that's only half the story? If some bacteria can send these damaging packages, could other, more beneficial bacteria send helpful, protective ones?
And the answer, thankfully, seems to be a big yes. This is where our whole story takes a really hopeful turn, and it starts opening up these incredible new possibilities for how we might treat or maybe even prevent this disease down the road.
And this chart, it just illustrates the difference perfectly. So, on one side, you've got the EVs from the harmful bacteria, the villains, doing all that bad stuff we just talked about. But on the other side, you have EVs from beneficial bacteria, like a species called Akkermansia mucinifila. And their messengers, they do the exact opposite. They calm down inflammation, they actually strengthen the intestinal barrier, and they slash the amount of inflammatory chemicals in the blood. I mean, these are the heroes of our story, for sure.
So this whole hero versus villain thing gives us a brand new roadmap for treatment. And that is so important because, get this, there are currently no FDA-approved drugs specifically for MAFLD. We could use probiotics to add more hero bacteria, use prebiotics to feed the ones already there, or even do a full flora transplant. And maybe the most futuristic idea? We could engineer these EVs ourselves, like little biological delivery drones, to carry specific therapeutic messages right where they need to go.
So this all brings us to the crucial takeaway. The core idea is really powerful, but it's also pretty simple. The health of our liver isn't just about what we eat. It's about the conversation our gut microbes are having with it. And if we can change the messengers, we can fundamentally change the message, flipping it from one that causes damage to one that promotes health and protection.
And that just leaves us with this one fascinating final thought. You know, the question isn't if our gut talks to our liver anymore. We know it does. The question now is, what is it saying? And as we learn to translate and maybe even rewrite those messages, we might just be on the verge of a total revolution in how we treat liver disease.